Honorable Deputy Minister, and on the issue of the appeal, let me find out from you, will you sponsor an amendment to the Constitution?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, if it's in the interest of the nation, I believe that we all, Parliament, can do something to make that happen. But
you are convinced that it's in the interest of the state.
So that is why
I'm
appealing.
So don't use if again, conditional.
Okay, then I withdraw the if. But I'm appealing to you, to Parliament, through your committee, that moving forward, if we can have a section of all the infractions that have been rectified in the Auditor General's report, for the whole nation to know what the committee is doing, as well as the Auditor General, the Auditor General's contribution to the management and monitoring of our finances. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Okay, maybe we can discuss that further and see what can be done about it. Now we'll take the ministry itself. Then after that, we'll play that we'll take Ghana Statistical Service. Then we'll go to Controller before we come to GRA. So I'll begin with you. The first one is on page 22 of the reports of the Auditor General, paragraph 33, failure to retire accountable interest, 201,392 Ghana cedis. It's on support given to the Finance Committee of Parliament in September 2017. But at the time of the audit, they have not retired the interest. I've read your response, and you say that the amount have been fully retired. So, has the auditors verified and confirmed that? Auditors?
Mr. Chair, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Yes, as mentioned by yourself, the auditors were duly informed, given the supporting evidence of their retirement, and we have gone through it, and I can say that everything on that particular transaction has been fully retired.
Okay, so that'll be all for that. Let's move to the next one, paragraph 43 to 58. The ranking member will handle that. Paragraph 43 to 58.
Thank you, Chairman. The auditors noted that non-publication of procurement contracts, that a number of contracts were awarded for procurement by follow the Public Procurement Authority Act. You didn't publish it for others to show interest and bid. What is your response? And what is the situation now?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chairman, these are operational issues that the Chief Director of the Ministry of Finance will take up. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the requirement is for us to publish the procurement plan on the website of the Public Procurement Authority. Mr. Chairman, occasionally we have difficulties with the connection and the uploading process. In the instances referred to, that is what happened. We had difficulties with uploading the information. So we sent them by means of email, electronic mail, to the Public Procurement Authority to help with the upload. That has become, the way we address circumstances where we are not able to upload directly because either the website has challenges or the internet is having challenges at a certain point in time. So we try to back it up with email communication with the Public Procurement Authority so that they can upload it when the internet is available. Thank you.
Yeah, so, but you agree with me that by the time that their internet becomes available and their website becomes operational, maybe the process would have been completed and the purpose of this requirement would have been defeated.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Honorable Chairman, the procurement process has a number of stages. We upload the procurement plan, and then we also update the award of the contract. So we don't miss, in this particular case, in the particular case of the findings that the auditors made, these were all items that were procured with the full knowledge of the Public Procurement Authority. So nothing was really lost in terms of public information to the general public, because it was publicized subsequently and everybody becomes aware that these are the contracts that the Ministry of Finance has awarded.
So was it after the contracts have been awarded that it was published, or it was published before the contracts could be awarded?
Honorable Chair, two stages. The procurement plan is published before the contract is awarded, but the contract award is only published after they have been awarded.
Anyway, Mr. Auditor, are you satisfied with?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Truly, we have been given updates when they did publish the updates on the PPA website. So I do have evidence of that reviewed, and they have fully satisfied the requirement.
Subsequently, have you been following diligently the procurement law? Because that's the recommendation of the Auditor General.
Honorable Chair, we've been following the procurement law as prescribed, sir.
So we won't see anything like this again?
Honorable Chair, the findings are made by the auditors. We don't do the findings. So the auditors, as I'm told, they have many eyes. So when you address one aspect, they always will look out for other aspects.
But you are expected to follow all the procurement requirements.
Yes, we
so
do.
If you are sure that you are following all the procurement requirements, the Auditor General will have nothing to find.
Honorable, I assure you that we are following the procurement requirements. But
So
I
like the assurance.
But I can also assure you that auditors do their work very professionally, and they have ways of finding things that you may have missed.
So, Honorable Minister, when you are going to Europe to sell the bond, and you go to the book runners to select your advisors, do you follow the procurement law?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We do follow the procurement law and abide by it. Yes, Mr. Chairman.
And one particular book runner has been winning all the time?
Mr. Chairman, we do follow the law. Thank you.
Is this sole sourcing? It's also a method. Is this sole sourcing method you use?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Or restricted tendering?
No, competitive tendering.
Competitive?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Chairman, thank you for the opportunity to ask a follow-up. I heard the Chief Director say that the auditors are always on the lookout for problem areas. I don't think that impression is good enough. No, he said so. He tried to come back to, as it were, water it down, but it's a very bad impression to create. The auditors, their duty is to ensure that public expenditure is conducted in accordance with the law. So where they flag the law, where they flag the infraction and establishes that it infringes on the law, it's our duty to ensure that we comply. And you are now telling this committee that subsequently you've been following whatever infraction they created. It's very important that we don't create wrong impressions. This is a very, very important committee. We don't have to indict the auditors. They are simply doing their work. Chairman, thank you.
All right, let's move to the next one. Honorable Rankin.
Paragraph 48 on page 27. Are you there? The auditors are saying that there was a contract between the ministry and Crow Associates to recover assets from identifiable wrongdoers, investigate allegations of wrongdoing, provide evidence for assets recovery, build capacity for transfer of skills, advise on preventative techniques and structure to prevent the defect future corruption. The auditors are saying that during their review, they said that the work was not done, but an amount of $1 million was paid to Crow and Associates. What do you say to that?
Honorable Chair, the concern of the auditors at the time was that the report of the work was not made available to them. Subsequently, the report was made available and it was inspected by the auditors and it was confirmed that the work had been done. Thank you.
Auditor General, can you confirm that the evidence of work done has now been provided to your satisfaction?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can say that, yes, work has been done, and we are satisfied with the requirement. And as
Mr. Auditor, make sure you answer the question well, because my follow-up question will kill you.
Are you threatening him?
I'm not threatening him.
That's a threat.
No, because I'm not threatening him.
Let him finish answering, then you can follow up your question, which will kill him. Please, can you answer?
yes, additional to what I did mention was that at the time this issue became keenly contested, and after that there was a ruling given. So that has also become part of our working papers that confirmed that yes, work has been done.
You are saying that there was a court ruling on the issue and it confirmed that the work has been done. I think that will be all for me, Mr. Chairman.
Follow up on this. Auditor, is it the same, are you referring to the letter dated 2nd July 2020 that your outfit said that they are satisfied with the work done?
Yes.
Some George.
I'd like to find out from the auditors how they arrived at satisfaction. You, in paragraph 50, you state clearly in your report that some of the payment invoices predated the contract. How did you become satisfied by that? Because if payments were made to a company that didn't even have a contract, in your own report, how then did you satisfy yourself that that was due process?
Thank you, sir. The question on how, when this issue was flagged, it was picked up by top management. So they went through the process and eventually came out that this has been fully satisfied.
So are you suggesting that your top management may have connived with persons who were involved in the award of this contract originally, that your own audit flagged as having been paid for before a contract was signed? I'm not even going to go into whether the job was done or not done. I'm talking about payments that were made to the company even before a contract existed. How then did your top management, what did they see that made that regular?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to clarify something. The auditor's infraction was that they did not see the work that had been done. They never mentioned that there was no contract. Because when you look at 50, it says during a review of the contracts. So it is not about a non-existence of a contract, but rather they are saying that they did not see evidence of work done. So I just want to clarify that, and then Honorable Chair, you ask the member to continue with the question, please. Thank you.
Honorable Chair, let me read paragraph 50 for the benefit of Ghanaians listening to us. The minister is picking and choosing. She's cherry picking. And as a former that during our review of the contract with Kroll Associates, we noted that though there was no evidence of work done, the ministry in 2018 paid an amount of $1 million US, equivalent of 4,890,000 Ghana cedis to the company. Our further review showed inconsistencies in some of the documentation. We noted, for instance, that though the contract was signed in September 2017, some of the invoices attached to the payment vouchers predated the award of the contract. My question has been, how then do you justify payments that predate a contract? Per our public financial management laws, you cannot pay someone who doesn't have a contract. You pay on the basis of a contract. On what basis did you pay? That's the question I'm asking. And how then did the senior management of the audit service then come to the conclusion, post facto, that the payment before the existence of a contract was valid or regularized? That's the question I'm asking.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, the Chief Director will pick that. But I just want to put on record that the Honourable Member cannot say, I can pick and choose with inconsistencies. I don't think it is proper for us to speak to ourselves that way. Thank you.
Honourable Chair, if I may follow up.
Answer the Sam George's question.
Yes, please.
Then we come to...
Honourable Sam George made mention of the fact that there was no contract. Clearly, there was a contract. He raised the point that some of the invoices related to periods before the contract. That is correct. But in that same contract, an effective date of the contract. Some work has started before the contract was actually signed, and the contract made mention of the fact that the memorandum of understanding that was signed prior to the contract should be considered effectively as part of the contract, and that the contract takes effect from that earlier date. Those are all issues that were discussed with the auditors, clarified with them before the matter was eventually brought to a conclusion. So on the issue of contract, there was a contract. On issue of effective date, the effective date was when the work started. On the issue of invoices, all the invoices were within the effective contract period. In terms of work done, the auditors themselves inspected the reports and confirmed that the work had been done. Thank you, Honourable Chair.
Honourable Roxon.
Chairman, thank you. Chairman, paragraph 48 of the report indicates clearly the particular regulation that had been breached in the matter. And based on that, they made their observations. Now, Chairman, if you look at paragraph 51 of the report, it says management in response to this observation stated that they will make the records available to us later. Now, my question to the Chief Director is whether or not these records were made available before the court action ensued as a result of, because we are all aware that there was a high court matter based on the contents of this report. So I want to find out whether you made the records available to the auditors before the matter went to court for final adjudication.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. In this particular instance, even though the payment was being made at Ministry of Finance, the substantive work was being undertaken at the Office of the Senior Minister. And the nature of the work was said that Ministry of Finance could not be handed the report. When the auditors made a finding, we thought we could just get a copy of the report and hand it over to them. But when we contacted the Senior Minister's office, they said, oh, the report is actually available, that they could come to the Office of the Senior Minister and inspect the report. But it is of a nature that they can't hand over into the system. For instance, normally you write to the auditor, it goes to a secretary who passes on to the auditor. It's not a report that can be taken through this normal bureaucracy of the system. So the Office of the Senior Minister suggested that the auditors would come to his office, see the evidence, which the auditor objected to, because in his modalities, once he had issued a request, that should be complied with. And it led to the subsequent discussions that we are all aware of. Thank you.
Chairman, the Office of the Senior Minister, for all the records we have, it's not part of the Ministry of Finance. And the audit was in respect of activities of Ministry of Finance. So I agree with the auditors that if you're asking them to now come to the Office of the Senior Minister for purposes of authenticating documents, then it will be problematic. So you still haven't answered me whether they got the records before the matter went through litigation at the High Court. That's what I want to...
Honorable Chair, I responded that they were invited to see the records. Auditors, by the nature of their work, they go on to do verification. So when the auditor is doing work in a particular location, and there are records or things that can be cited at a different location, you could travel outside the organization to another place and inspect documents and records. In fact, they can go as far as to a supplier's office to look at evidence and make a conclusion. For an important matter of this nature, you don't conclude that you can't go to another public office to look at evidence based on which you want to make your conclusion. The long and short of it is that the matter eventually was verified by the auditor, and he satisfied himself that the work had been done and the matter was brought to closure. Thank you.
Was it before the matter went to court?
The auditor was offered the opportunity before the matter went to court.
Yes.
Chief Director, I want to read Article 187(3) of the Constitution. The 187(2) says that the public accounts of Ghana and all public offices, including the courts, the central and local government administrations of the universities and public institutions of like nature of any public corporation or other body or organization established by an shall be audited and reported on by the Auditor General. Then 3 says that for the purpose of Clause 2 of this article, the Auditor General or any person authorized or appointed for the purpose by the Auditor General shall have access to all books, records, returns, and other documents relating or relevant to those accounts. So the Auditor General has power under the Constitution to be given any documents, to have access to the document, Why are you now saying that this particular document is such that it should not go through the normal bureaucratic process for the auditor to have?
Honorable Chair, and thank you for the clarification provided. My reading of the clause you read and my working with the auditors means that makes me understand that it is not always that you have to hand over the document physically to them before they can consider it as having had access. For some documents, they look at it, read it, see the content, and that is considered as access. There are documents that you communicate to them, I mean, by way of letters to the office. There are documents that they come to site to inspect. The law allows the Auditor General to have his, free access, but that doesn't mean he can go into any office and say, I want to see this, I want to see this. I don't think the Auditor General goes into national security and wants to say, you bought ammunitions, I want to inspect and count the ammunitions, and so on and so forth. The point I'm making is that the law access, but within that access provided by the law, there could be mutual understanding as to boundaries. Thank you, Honorable.
The Auditor General will not come to any office and demand any document. The Constitution says that the Auditor General shall have access to all books, records, returns, and other documents relating or relevant for the purpose of the audit. So in the case of these Kroll Associates, the document relating to that contract is what they must have access to. The question that Roxman asked, which I want to change a bit. You gave indication in paragraph 51. Management, in response to this observation, stated that they will make the records available to us later. The Audit Service Act demands that when auditors come to audit and they raise query, you are given 30 days to produce any document to authenticate the transaction. Did you do that within the 30 days given?
Honorable Chair, the Auditor General was auditing Ministry of Finance. Ministry of Finance didn't have the document that they were asking for. So our role is to point them to where they can have that document so that they can use the authority that they have under the Constitution to request for those documents. And that is what we did.
Is it a practice at the Ministry of Finance that you make payment for expenditure that you don't have documents to support payment? Is that a practice? Order. Is that a practice?
Honorable Chair, Ministry of Finance is a central management agency, and we take responsibility for making payments on behalf of ministries, departments, and agencies. When we do, we ensure that they keep and maintain the records for inspection. A case in point is the first finding in this report that related to Parliament. The documents and receipts that the auditors were seeking were documents that were sitting with Parliament. We ensured that when they came, we pointed that these documents are documents that you can only find at Parliament. And therefore, they do the necessary follow-up, do the necessary inspections, and bring the matter to close. As Ministry of Finance, we can't keep records of all the documents in respect of which we make payments. If we do, we would need a very big, huge building. As we speak, we know that we cannot keep all the records at Ministry of Finance. So we depend on the ministries, departments, and agencies to keep adequate records. And the auditors are aware that if you want to see payments that we have made on behalf of Ministry of Roads, you go to Ministry of Roads. If you want to see documents relating to Ministry of Education, you go to Ministry of Education. We can't keep all the records at Ministry of Finance.
Okay. Chief, the reference you made to Parliament is quite different. The Parliament one, the payment was made at Ministry of Finance. For Ministry of Finance vote. So you didn't make it on behalf of Parliament. You made that payment from your vote to support members of the Finance Committee for a study tour. It's different from this one. So there are different issues. Do you agree with me?
Honorable, they are not quite different, but I want to put it to rest.
Now, my question on the 30 days grace period has still not been answered. If you were audited by the Auditor General and you made payment on behalf of the ministry, not necessarily this one, and you promised providing the documents, why didn't you do that within the 30-day period window given? Because you know that that is a law. Why didn't you do that?
Honorable, I don't remember the discussion around the 30 days, whether the auditor said we comply with the 30 days or we didn't comply with the 30 days. I'm sorry if you can...
Well, it is not here.
Okay.
But for the fact that the final issue appeared in the report, it means that they were not satisfied. You have not given the document to satisfy them. That is why they reported it here. So that's the implication.
Yeah, Honorable, I've explained earlier on that we explained to them that the documents are not with us. Within the 30 days period, we explained to them that the documents are not with us. The documents are with the Office of the Senior Minister.
Okay.
Unfortunately, they didn't get the document before they did their report.
All right. Well, let me leave it there. Let me come to the auditors. A letter was read 2nd July 2020 that the auditor wrote that they are satisfied with the documentation provided by the Office of the Senior Minister. Is that right?
Correct, sir.
Are you aware that that letter was written by the acting Auditor General a day after he was appointed?
Mr. Chair, as far as I'm concerned, this letter was from the Auditor General's office.
Please come again.
Please, I did mention that as far as I'm aware, the letter was from the Auditor General's office.
Yes. That's what I'm also saying. That are you aware that the Auditor General, the then acting Auditor General who signed the 2nd July letter, was appointed a day before that letter?
Mr. Chair, as I did mention, once the letter is coming from the Auditor General's office, we are...
Allow the president to answer. Why are you bullying them? No, the chairman has asked. We should understand that part.
Okay, let me put it this way. Order, honorable members, please. This one shouldn't bring a fight to... this one is a committee. This is not a chamber. This is not a chamber. This is a committee. Let me change the question. The Auditor General who surcharged this particular expenditure was asked to proceed on leave. That was Mr. Domolovu. Then on the 1st of July, the current Auditor General, Johnson, was appointed. Then on the 2nd July, he wrote this letter, clearing, saying that everything is okay. I'm only asking, are you aware of that? Simple. If you are aware, say yes. If no, say no.
Sir, Mr. Chair, I'm not aware of this dates and analysis you've provided, but I know it's from the Auditor General's office.
Are you aware that your current boss was appointed 1st July 2020? Are you aware of that? If you're not aware of that, your boss was appointed 1st July 2020, then are you aware?
I'm aware he was appointed that day, but for the
nitty-gritty order. Good. Fine. You have answered the question. You are aware that he was appointed on 1st July 2020. And the letter read by the deputy ranking member quoted 2nd July 2020. So the question I've asked, you have answered it in a different way. Thank you. No. No more question on this matter. No more question on this matter. We'll move on to the next.
He has achieved his
Order. Honorable members, why? Are we going to spend all the time on only one question? Can't we move forward? Let's move forward. It's okay. Honorable members, let's go to the next one, which is, I think, the last one for the ministry itself.
This is chamber. It's not mini chamber. It's not e-citizen.
It's on payments via chief director's account. You have been making huge payments, cash withdrawal, through the accounts of the chief director. Page 24, paragraph 38. Page 38, page 24, paragraph 38, sorry. Payment via chief director's account. I've read your response. And yes, I've read your response. And your remark says that the audit team for 2021 can confirm that the practice of bulk lifting of cash from the sub-consolidated fund to the chief director's account for the payments of suppliers has stopped, which means that you have confirmed that you have been doing something. That is why you stopped it. Is that the case?
Honorable, I think the substantive issue of payment from the sub-CF account is one that has been a challenge, not only for Ministry of Finance, but for all MDAs. There are times that the service that you are obtaining involves payment of cash. And these are sometimes to individuals that you can't, set up on the account just for one-time payment. And therefore, that's what results in the use of, the bulk lifting. What we are confirming that we have stopped is that we don't pay contractors from the operational account anymore. We pay contractors from the sub-CF account directly. Thank you.
Auditors, can you confirm that?
Sir Chair, yes, we can confirm that that has stopped per our review.
So I think that ends the ministries. No. Is that end the ministries? No, that hasn't ended the ministries one. The last one for the ministries one is insufficient use of the GOG ICT infrastructure. Inefficient use of the GOG ICT infrastructure. Well, your action says that the audit team came to verify the payment process as stated in our responses. I don't know which of the responses you're referring to. But auditors, are they now efficiently using the infrastructure, the ICT infrastructure?
Yes, per our inspection, yes.
Honorable Apak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the same issue, I see paragraph 57, where it says, we urge management to ensure that proper survey of government infrastructure is conducted to enable them ascertain systems availability to the ministry to minimize duplication. I want to know whether any action has been taken with regards to this recommendation.
Yes, Honorable Chair, we have been working closely with NITA to ensure that we are aware of all the systems that NITA is trying to bring on board so that we can make maximum use of this. As a result of that, there are systems that belong, that NITA holds, that the ministry is currently, benefiting from. Thank you.
Honorable Tufero.
Thank you very much, Chairman. If I understand this weakness identified by the auditors, they are saying that when they came to do the audit, that computer application deployed by NITA, there was this functionality in there that you didn't use, and you brought somebody outside to come and implement, which the system could support. Is that the case?
Honorable, that is the initial finding of the auditors.
And has it been established?
But we had explained that that is not quite correct.
Yes.
Then that in NITA, because NITA is the whole of the public sector, their systems are very generic. Ministry of Finance has peculiar needs that we needed to address. And that is why we brought in, a team to help us address the particular issues. If on the face of it, it looks like the same system that NITA has, but the auditors went into it and realized that what we have is completely different from what NITA has. Thank you.
Sam George, last.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, the ministry deploys a platform that's run by NITA, GIFMIS, which is basically your major payment platform. It's run by NITA. So NITA has the capacity to support the ministry's functions.
NITA has the capacity to host the GIFMIS.
The GIFMIS platform. Now, NITA, the ministry also, on behalf of government, contracted for the company when you could simply have asked NITA to configure the services that you need already as a government-to-government thing for the government agency to get that revenue.
Because what the solution that we did with our workflow and document management system is completely different from the smart workplace system that NITA has deployed now. And then at the time we did ours, NITA had not implemented their solution. If NITA had done so, then we could ask them to tweak their system and make sure it addresses our needs. But on the contrary, that is not the way they were phased out.
No, the point I'm just asking is, did you consult NITA, or you chose to go straight to a private sector player?
No, we consulted NITA.
NITA said they didn't have the capacity to give you a workflow.
NITA was invited to provide a solution as part of the people who were considered, but NITA didn't have the solution at the time. And the smart workplace, if you check, you realize it's also something that NITA procured. It's not like they had an in-house capacity to do something that we had gone out to procure.
Chairman, I would not drag the matter, but I just want to make a point that given the fact that the ministry knows the challenges of NITA arise from your inability to ring-fence their payments that are due them from other state agencies for services they offer them. When you have $1.4 million to pay, shouldn't you be considering NITA as a government agency as your primary source instead of a private agency?
I will not agree with you. The reason being that in building capacity, it helps to bring a private provider to work with a government agency to build that capacity, rather than hand over, the requirement to the government institution which hasn't got the capacity, and then you are struggling and you don't have the solutions. What we have now is NITA is learning, we're also learning as we go along and improving the synergies that exist between us. Thank you, Honorable.
Ms. Auditor, reading from your report, it appears that the ministry didn't quite agree with your recommendations, because they explained that they have some specific needs of the ministry that could not be provided by NITA. Yes, so we have a situation where your observation and recommendation doesn't sit well with the ministry, given their peculiar or specific needs. So, what do we do? What is the way forward? You can also answer if you have the answer, the ministry. Thank you.
Honorable Chair, what we've been trying to do is to pick a lot of lessons from the auditors. I must admit that they are doing a great job. The type of analysis reviews they do help us also to improve upon the work that we do in the ministry. Because they are not within the ministry, they certainly cannot have as much information as those within the ministry will have. But when they make their findings through the dialogue with you, we always end up with a better position for the whole government than we started. Thank you.
All right, so that'll be all for ministry headquarters. We are moving on to Ghana Statistical Service. They have two issues which are related. They are all on the procurement of some tablets. The first infraction is that it's paragraph 145 on page 71 of the report. Paragraph 145, page 71 of the report. That the audit service noted that the Ghana Statistical Service engages in unplanned procurement activities. So in the 2018, they procured 711 pieces of tablets amounting to 460,672 Ghana cedis, which was not in the procurement plan for 2018. Now, the response from management says that they had to return 50 pieces of tablet owed to the University of Ghana, and additional 150 tablets needed as backups. Now, the auditors are saying that to avoid the risk of procuring in excess of required quantity and improve efficiency in planning, management should strictly adhere to Section 21 of the Procurement Act. My question is, Do you now follow the Procurement Act?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, the government statistician is here on behalf of Ghana Statistical Service to pick that questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and members. Chair, we do follow the procurement process. And if you permit me, let me say that this is in connection with the Ghana Census of Agric. And as part of our procurement plan, we had 4572 tablets in the plan. The need arose for us to acquire more tablets at the time of the data collection because as a country, the last time we did demarcation exercise was in 2010. So when we deployed the enumerators into the field, we realized that some enumeration areas had expanded over the period. So we needed tablets in the course of the data collection. That is what led to mobilizing additional tablets from other sources, such as the University of Ghana, and also buying additional tablets to ensure that the data collection exercise is done. Thank you.
Okay, so auditors, are you satisfied with the response given?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Yes, we are satisfied with the response given so far.
Mr. Statistician, you spent 460,000 Ghana cedis to acquire 711 tablets. You refuse to get warranty on these. So within 1 year, you have spent 111,000 just to repair them. About a quarter of the amount that you used to buy all the 711. How do you explain that?
Thank you for the question. Chair, let me put on record that as part of our engagement with the company, we had a letter of assurance, and in that letter of assurance, it had categorically stated that we have a 1-year warranty. My briefing is that the auditors as at that time did not see a letter headed warranty. So we made a letter of assurance letter available to them, which we have a copy here, and as I indicated, categorically stated that we had a 1-year warranty. Subsequently, they advised that we get a performance bond for about 2%, which we duly wrote to the suppliers, and in the course of they getting the 2% performance to us, the original 1-year warranty had elapsed. Thank you.
Sir, if you had warranty, why then did you spend 111,000 cedis to repair these tablets within 1 year?
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Let's be clear that the warranty is for manufacture defects, and once you are dealing with enumerators and diverse reasons account for damages to the tablet, it's not all the damages that would fall under the manufacturer's defect. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I only wanted to get some clarity. If you look at 151, the auditors are saying they found a document on warranty, except that it is only for 2 months and not. So if the statistician, government statistician is saying that they didn't find the document, it stated here that they found a document, but the warranty was for only 2 months instead of the normal 1 year. So which other warranty is he talking about that they did not find it well captioned as warranty? Because it's captured here that they found one, which is for only 2 months. If you look at 151, in this instance, our review showed that the service obtained only 2 months warranty, a condition which exposed the service to the risk of incurring additional costs on the purchase should the tablets become defective within a year.
Thank you very much. Chair, if you permit me, I have the letter of assurance in front of me, and as I said, this has been made available to the auditors, and it categorically reads, "We therefore wish to assure you our readiness to provide 1-year warranty against manufacturing defects on all our devices, and 6 months warranty on accessories from date of sales to the customer. Thank you.
Let me find out a few issues. When were the tablets procured? Which year were they procured?
Chair, if you permit me, I may not be able to categorically provide the month and the date because this occurred.
No, just a year.
The 2017-2018 Ghana Census of Agric occurred within that period. So my understanding is that it might have occurred a year within the 2017, a year before the 2017-2018. But as I said, we can get an accurate date that were procured to the committee.
So the letter of warranty or assurance you received, what is the effective date?
Chair, thank you. This letter is dated 24 July 2017.
And it says that you have assurance or warranty for 1 year. From what date to what date?
Chair, again, I would not be able to give you the specifics, but definitely...
No, we should be able. The letter must contain that information. The letter must have that information that the warranty is taking effect from this month to this month. It must have that information. If it's not there, then it's not a warranty.
Chair, what it says is that from date of sales to the customer. And what I'm saying is that the contract will definitely have the date of the sales. I don't have the contract in front of me, but this letter of assurance categorically says that it's from the date of sales.
You are coming to appear before Public Accounts Committee, and the issue is known to you. Why didn't you look for the contract and arm yourself with it?
Chair, I do apologize. It will repeat itself. Thank you.
So, the auditors are saying that within 1 year, you have incurred a 111,000 Ghana cedis cost on repairs of 511 tablets. If you have a warranty of 1 year, why do you incur this cost again?
Chair, I did indicate in my earlier submission that the enumerators damaged the tablets through diverse means other than manufacture defects. As I read, the warranty is only on manufacture defects. We are just on the back of the population housing census, and there were so many instances where there were rains, enumerators, some of them were using motors, they had accidents. So diverse reasons would account for the damages of the tablet and not issues related to manufacture defects.
Auditors, are you okay with the explanation given?
Yes, we are okay with the explanation given.
You're also asking them to strengthen their procurement processes. Is there any evidence to that?
Our review and the document given us, we've seen that the management has made strides in the process.
All right, so that will be all for Ghana Statistical Service. Let's move on to Controller and Accountant General, paragraph 134 to 144 on our pack.
Mr. Chairman, please, with your we want to find out if the Ghana Statistician can take leave of us now.
Yes,
that
yeah, he can.
Thank you.
He is discharged.
Thank you.
Okay. 139, Control and Accountant General, inefficient management of value books, 3.5 million Ghana cedis. And Honorable Park will take it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman, as you indicated earlier, 134, the issue has to do with inefficient management of value books, valued at just about 3.6 million Ghana cedis. I want to find out from the auditees what accounted for this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the Controller and Accountant General will pick these questions under Controller. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. From the audit observation, the Auditor General raised the issue of 1,816,413 value books, costing approximately 3.5 million, which were printed and were not distributed. Mr. Chairman, we want to state that out of this quantity, 646,207 have already been allocated to the various institutions. I must add that some of these requests were made at a time the institutions were going through restructuring, i.e. digitization. So some of them, after the books were printed, realized that they were no more using those particular processes any longer. However, what we have said is that we are not going to waste those value books. So we are finding alternative use for them, especially the original folders are now being deployed to the districts for usage. So, Mr. Chairman, I want to assure you that we will exhaust the usage of all the value books. Secondly, we have also have a strong collaboration with the MDAs. Therefore, we don't overstock more than 1 year. If we receive any request, we move to the MDA, cross-check their stock values, and then based on that, we print or we give them 1 year quantity. So in case even this institution is changing its processes, there won't be a lot of stocks unused. So that is where we are now, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Chairman, just a last question on this. The auditors in paragraph 143, they state that to minimize the risk of revenue leakages, they urge Controller and Accountant General to exercise strong oversight in the administration of value books within the public sector. What effect have you given this recommendation?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's what I said earlier, that now we don't go by the request at the face value. We go further to cross-check the stock holdings of these MDAs.
Very well, Chairman. He is repeating the same explanation. So
yes,
I think that the auditors, what is your say on
before the auditor,
rendition given?
Before the auditors come in.
Very well.
The Controller and Accountant General, paragraph 144 says that management agreed with the recommendation of the auditors, and that you also stated that letters have already been written to the MDAs concerned to take delivery of the respective orders. Have they taken delivery of the orders?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When you take folders for Tamale Hospital, the regional hospital, Now they are not using it, but they've taken delivery of 448,000 for the districts. So gradually, these stocks are being depleted.
And it applies to the rest of them?
Yes, please, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, all right. Roxanne.
Chair, thank you. Just a quick one. If Tamale Hospital took delivery of these folders, and as a result of changing technology, they no longer need it, and are being given to the district hospitals to use. If there are problems with usage, how do we account for it? Thank you very much. I believe the regional health has oversight responsibility over these district health services. So definitely they have looked at the structures and said, indeed, this could be converted for alternative use. Thank you.
Auditors, can you respond to?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are satisfied with the explanation given. However, the timing of receiving the action taken receiving the action taken did not permit us to follow up and verify whether or not all these folders have been transferred. So I asked the August House to give us some time, verify, and then finish you with the report. Thank you.
All right, so if you can do this verification within 2 weeks, provide the committee your findings, so you can help the committee to write a report to the plenary. Thank you very much. That will be all for Controller and Accountant General. Now let's come back to Ghana Revenue Authority. So, Controller, if you are free, you can stay, but if you have anything doing, you are discharged. So, Ghana Revenue Authority, and then the first to handle GRA is Honorable Kofi Adams. Paragraph 59 to 67.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Ghana Revenue Authority, Customs Division, Oil Refinery, TUR. Default in payment of petroleum liftings to the tune of 33,458,222 Ghana cedi, but the review shows that payment of excise duties, taxes, and levies amounting to 33,675,044 Ghana cedi, as shown in the table, have not been paid. But I've seen your response indicating that as at now, all the outstanding issues have been resolved, that all the OMCs have paid. Audit Service, have you been able to confirm this information?
Mr. Chair, yes, please, we've been able to confirm, and all payments have been fully made. Thank you. So
my next concern is to do with payment of penalties. Did you pick this payment as standing in the table 33,675,044 Ghana cedi without the penalty or interest, or with penalty and interest? GRA.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, on all the infractions under GRA, the Commissioner General and the other heads of the divisions, the commissioners, will speak to those infractions. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. What normally happens is that, in this particular case, yes, we collected the revenue plus the interest. So anytime there is an infraction like that or a deferment of such an expenditure tax, we calculate the interest and add it onto it, and then we collect the interest and penalties as well. Unless there is any particular provision at a particular time, like what happened last year and this year, where there are remission of penalties and interest, then it will be applicable.
Chairman, the GRA tells us because of the introduction of the ICAM system, automatically some action is taken when the oil companies owe them. Again, they're also referring to bonding issues here. Have you had situations where you have to fall on the bond because they haven't paid over the period?
Yes, Honorable Chair, we've had situations where we have to fall on the bond.
And have you had any challenge with the execution of the bonds, or it's been smooth?
Yes, there are some situations where the provider of the bond may have a challenge. Then now we turn on to both the provider of the bond and the oil company to make sure that either one of them must fulfill the obligation. And we have had situations where the provider of the bonds have fulfilled the obligation and paid, and then they later have chased the OMC to collect the money.
So we can say there is improvement, but we have not totally...
Yes, Honorable Chair, there's a significant improvement. But as we are aware, as the Honorable Minister said, Deputy Minister said at the beginning, as part of this process, you have situations where people default and you have to go through the process, either by doing the various distress measures that is available to the authority or falling on the bond when the bond is available.
My last issue is to do with the lifting of marine gas oil. That there have not been payment as at the time of auditing to the tune of associated to the tune of 597,220 Ghana. I've seen your response also here, which says that that payment has equally been done. Is that the case? GRA, can you confirm? Sorry.
Yes, Honorable Minister, Honorable Member, it is that is the case.
Auditors, confirm the payment.
Yes, please. Payment has been effected.
When was this done? Just of interest.
Sorry. We did a follow-up, and to the best of my knowledge, that was somewhere last year. Full payment was effected.
But, Mr. Chairman, we didn't see any calculation of penalty on this one, as we found in the previous one. Or this doesn't attract penalty. GRA, this aspect from paragraph 65, it doesn't attract a penalty?
Honorable, it does attract penalties. But what happens, as I said in the initial stages, we normally work the penalties and spread it over and as and when the OMC, or for that matter, the taxpayer is paying, he pays with the penalty and the interest.
So I take it that on this 597,220 Ghana cedi, there will be penalty calculations on it, which we will later see payments of penalty on these amounts.
It is, in some cases, it's interest and penalties. In some cases, so whatever the case may be, we do add and do collect. And so we will have shown that we have collected the tax plus the interest and or penalties.
What did Goyle say their problem was? Because in looking at your response, I saw something to do with Goyle.
Initially, they didn't give us the full details, or I don't recall it, full details of the challenges as at the time. But for now, we can say that they have paid the outstanding amount, and we have provided documents to that effect.
What was their difficulty, sir, in providing the documents? Because we know there should be documentation of things in the oil and gas chain. What was their difficulty?
Honorable, it was basically an issue of late submission of the documents, but subsequently have submitted the documents.
Mr. Chairman, I think that should be all for the GRA on this matter.
Yes, Honorable Roxon.
Chair, thank you. Commissioner General, you're welcome. Now, we are reviewing 2018 reports regarding activities that has been flagged for 2017 in this case. If the auditors are confirming to the committee that payments were done last year, then we expect that in your responses to us, particularly regarding the interest that had accrued and the penalty levels, would have been indicated to us, because this is our 5 years now. So it's good that the indication is coming that they are paid, but we are also interested in the level of defaults and the level of the penalty that it attracted. Then the auditors also made a very interesting observation. It said that in paragraph 66, it said weak oversight on OMCs with respect to penalties and interest payments, in our view, accounted for the anomaly. And since taking over, I want to find out if that has been, that situation, there's an improvement in the oversight levels. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Subsequently, we will provide the details as requested in terms of the principal and the for the House. And I also want to say that, yes, there has been substantial improvement in the oversight. As we mentioned, one, we now provide the, ensure that they have bonds. Two, the system automatically ensures that if the OMC has defaulted, it blocks the OMC. And then there's also constant aggressive follow-up by any OMC that has defaulted to the various distress measures that we have to ensure that the debt or any outstanding liability is collected.
Let's move to Honorable Bauer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, mine has to do with exemptions without parliamentary approval. The Auditor General said the GRA for granting tax waivers to some companies to the tune of 5,562,175 Ghana cedis without parliamentary approval. Mr. Commissioner General, are you aware that you cannot grant waivers on taxes without parliamentary approval? And if you are aware, why so?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Yes, I am aware that the Commissioner General nor my staff cannot grant exemptions unless that be approved by Parliament, or unless it is a special approval already existing under also by Parliament. And in these particular cases, most of them that you will find here have been approved by particular instrument. And so I'll hand over to the Commissioner Customs, who will take us through the specific ones that we have here, and you to show that actually most of them that we have here have been approved as under a particular schedule for the purpose for which it was executed.
Honorable Chairman, thank you. I think generally we understand and we know that until and after prior approval of Parliament, no exemptions may be granted. We also know that under specific statutes, for instance, the Customs Act, Section 2 and the third schedule, some specific licenses, permits, and certificates given to certain ministry departments and agencies under parent acts are also allowed. But in these cases, what happened was that at the time of the audit, some of the agreements that we were made aware existed. We didn't have them attached to the document, but we received correspondence and communication from the ministry. So subsequently, we were able to get all those relevant exemptions that had been given, either in terms of agreements that had been sent to Parliament for approval or under specific status. So it was just a question of not being able to provide specific documentations as at the time of the audit. Thank you, sir.
Mr. I don't know your title, but at the time, this audit was in 2017, and we know normally after the audit, a management letter is issued. It is we are not able to clear the issues raised in the management letter that the findings are find their way into the Auditor General's report. So where were all these documents at the time of the audit and the period after the audit when the management letter was issued to you? Where were all these documents that you could not find them to attach? Where were they?
Honorable Chairman, I think in some cases, the beneficiaries of the exemptions had made specific quotations of these provisions or these agreements, but they did not attach them. They assumed that once they had them, it was public notice, and therefore customs should know. And in some cases, the ministry had actually given indication, but we had not cited them. So we asked the relevant beneficiaries of these exemptions to provide them where we didn't have them, and that was what happened.
My concern is that even right now we are all crying that we need money to run the system. Every day, our colleague, your boss, sitting by you here, we're all crying, finding ways to raise revenue. So if revenue that can come to at least cushion government, cushion all of us, in order for our economy to grow, is being waived in a manner that is not supposed to be so. I mean, it's worrisome, because we all know that, at least, like I said, from the period of audit till the time that these findings find their way into the Auditor General's report, there's quite a period of time that you should be able to provide all these documents. For now, sometimes, I think, Mr. Chairman, last year we made a categorical ruling here that at least anybody who is not able to claim himself, or any official who is not able to clear himself at the time of audit, management letter, and it finds its way into the Auditor General's report, anything that you bring forward, it's just, we are just thinking, I mean, it's a, we can't just take it just hook, line, and sinker like that. So that's mind-boggling. Mr. Auditor, who you conducted the audit? So for now, the responses that they have brought, are you satisfied with them?
Yes, please.
You are satisfied with them?
Yes, they brought.
You are satisfied with them?
They've
were they provided this? Were they given to you during the stipulated time that you? I mean, before this report was written, and you are telling me you are satisfied with them. What does the law say? Mr. Auditor, tell us what the law says.
In fact, if they had responded...
I think I'll have to I have to leave the rest to your sound yet. Yes.
What it means is that the document were provided after. So that is the root cause of the problem. How do we resolve that? Commissioner General, what do we do to ensure that any document demanded as evidence by the audit service is provided on time so that this issue don't find their way into the final reports?
Honorable Chair, currently in the new system, we have a way of scanning the attachments of any such exemptions into the system. So once you scan it into the system, at the time when the officer is doing the transaction, he can actually see the document and know that the exemption is there before he allows the transaction to go through. And so because of this, in fact, if you recall that initially when we started the ICAMs, that people were sometimes complaining about the delays in the process. It's because sometimes when you see these documents, then it stops the transaction from moving. Because previously, you could have moved when this one was not there. But in the current system, you can only move when it is there. And so the system compels you to verify before you proceed. And these are the things that are happening in terms of the process to ensure that it doesn't recur in the new system. Add something.
Honorable Kisi.
Thank you very much. I'm not a customs officer, but I'm just trying to make sense. If I understand correctly, there were agreements, but the documents were not available, which begs the question, are our auditors well equipped before they go to do the auditing? Because I think that from my experience, sometimes our auditors fail to do their job and they belabor, because what I'm understanding is that they were relying on the client to provide those documentation, which I thought was government documentation, if I'm not mistaken. So I really think that we need to watch it, because you cannot demand government document from a client, and this is what really was happening in a way, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, Colonel, is it Damwa? Yes, was saying that we had agreed to these exemptions through Parliament, but somehow those documents were not available at the time, and they were relying on Goldfield and all these other companies to rather provide, which I think is not in sync with what I would hope, to be happening.
I don't think that the auditors are at fault. The exemptions are granted by Parliament. After the resolution is passed by Parliament, Parliament writes to the Ministry of Finance, because it's Ministry of Finance that brings the exemption to us. And Ministry of Finance then provide GRA with copies, because they are going to implement it. When the imports of the equipment or whatever are coming, they also have that copy. And then the agency, the beneficiary company or corporation also have copies of that. So if the auditors are asking the agencies to provide, what would have happened if agencies provide that and they are not satisfied with that? Then they go and do a third party by going back to, even coming to Parliament, even coming back to Parliament to say that we have this exemption letter from Parliament. We want to find out if it is authentic. Do you understand? So asking the GRA or whatever, the beneficiary, is not wrong. Because what are they also importing those equipments? They must know that these are equipment that they are exempted, so we are importing them. If you look at the exemption of the time, take note of the report of the Finance Committee. They usually attach a list of items that are exempted. So it's not wrong for them to, but they can also go and do verification to confirm any information they get from those agencies. Okay, Apak.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, let's look at paragraph 69. It reads in part, we noted during our review that the system for tax waiver was fraught with irregularities. Our examination of the records at GRA showed that some companies, without any parliamentary approval, were exempted from the payment. We already know that. My question to the Minister is this. As per reports available, experts like Dr. Ali Nachia, that as a nation we lose at least 5 billion Ghana cedis a year to tax waivers. I'm also aware that efforts were being made to get a bill passed to address with this issue of tax waivers, which is fraught, emphasis, with irregularities. What action is government taking with regards to this bill so that we can pass it into law to address the colossal amounts of monies that we lose? In fact, the World Bank representative to Ghana, I believe only a week or so ago, made allusions to this same issue about the huge amounts of monies that we lose through this process.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, yes, it is of great concern to government, and government is doing something about it. Mr. Chairman, this House is a House of records, so I just want to clarify something before I move on. And the issue of a tax exemption to the tune of about 5.5 billion, that is incorrect. Every year we publish the tax exemption amount in the budget. So when you go into the budget, it is clear, it is stated there. And for last year, it is around 2.4 billion. Even that one, we know it's high. But I just want to set the record straight that there has never been a time in our budget where we have reported tax exemptions to the tune of 5.5 billion. Secondly, Mr. Chairman, it is true that we have submitted the bill to Parliament. We are in engagement with the Finance Committee, and we hope that before sitting ends, we would have gone through the bill. And so, Mr. Chairman, be rest assured that once we have submitted it, there are a few things we are working on with the AG's office and the Finance Committee. And the chairman of the Finance Committee has also made it known to us that we're looking for the opportune time to go off-site to look at it and then send the report to Parliament, and then we can look at the bill and take it clause by clause. Thank you.
Chairman, just for the sake of the records, I didn't quote those figures from our own source. This is a figure that was made available to the public by the IEA, and it is captured as such. So if there are any discrepancies about the claim, I would suggest you also draw the IEA's attention to it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The reason I mentioned this is because Parliament passes the budget every year, and these amounts are in the budget and is confirmed and passed by Parliament. So I just wanted to set the record straight that usually it is the budget that we take these figures from, because we report it to Parliament every year. But I also do as you have advised. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And just to add my 2 cents, exemptions have become a very big deal lately because of government's inability to meet budgetary demands. So I would hope that we do our very best to educate the public on reasons why we give exemptions, especially to enable businesses work well. And I think we haven't done enough to make the public aware. And unfortunately, sometimes they think that money goes to our pockets. And I know for a fact Chairman has not enjoyed this amount of money. This is money that we wished we would have had in the government coffers, but it was not taken by anybody. So this is one of my concerns, especially as we push hard to improve on government revenue mobilization. Everybody hits you with cut down on your exemptions, but we need to make this clear. Thank you very much.
So we'll move to paragraph 72 to 82, 73 to 82. Honorable Park.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paragraph 73. The issue there is captioned as 1,719 auction vehicles unaccounted for, and the amount quoted is 25,500,000. Now, let me quickly go to the recommendations that the auditors make, and they provide a list. You have to restrain interruptions. To the auditors, during their examination of the records supporting the revenue, which was 8,894,187 Ghana cedis in connection with 669 vehicles auctioned. GRA, which is Ghana Revenue Authority, failed to provide them with the relevant documentation, such as the reserve price list, auction sales reports, and internal audit reports. As a result, they were unable to ascertain the reliability and appropriateness of the auction procedure followed in realizing the revenue. What accounted for this, and what have you done to address this inability to provide the documents to the auditors?
Honorable Chairman, I think we had these challenges when we were doing the auction manually. Everything had to be done manually, right from the beginning of the process, where vehicles were not cleared within the stipulated time of 60 days, and therefore became state property. And after that, the officers will go physically look at the vehicles, take their chassis number, description, what have you, and do that manually. So that manual way of doing things created some problems and documentation, but we've managed to resolve most of these issues with the auditors. We've produced documents. Some of them have been captured in our old system when we used to use the Ghana Community Network System, GCNet. And now the new one, the Integrated Customs Management System, is superior to that one, and we capture data in real time. So most of the challenges we had to do with the manual way of doing things. And then those that were in GCNet, when we moved from GCNet to the Integrated Customs Management System, we had some challenges with the service providers because of the way things went, and some of the data were still with GCNet. It is now that we've managed to come to amicable settlement with them, and gradually we are interpreting the data, and we've managed to reduce the number of vehicles that the auditors initially observed as unaccounted for. And as of the last count, with what we had been able to produce evidence, we were left with about 206 vehicles. And at this moment, the figure has come down to about 97. And we are still in the process. We are engaging with the auditors, and they are verifying them from the system, the old system, and then the new system. So we believe that with the introduction of the Integrated Customs Management System and the plans that we have, which have gone far to automate the auction process, that will become a thing of the past, because everything will be done in real time and it will be automated and can easily be verified from the system. Thank you.
Thank you. But indulge me. Paragraph 76. It says that in response to the observations, the shuttle officer, Mr. Kwesi Asante, verbally explained that some of the unaccounted for vehicles were given to their owners as the first offer, since higher revenue would be generated than when auctioned, and also some of the chassis numbers gazetted were wrong. As auditors say to the verbal narration by Mr. Asante. By the way, is Mr. Asante still at GRA?
No, please, he's retired.
Very well. In any case, it goes on to say on paragraph 77, notwithstanding this assertion by Mr. Asante, Mr. Asante could not provide us with the list of beneficiaries. As a result, we were unable to authenticate the appropriateness of the disposal of 1,719 vehicles. So if Mr. Asante, who was at that desk, could tell the auditors that some of these vehicles were given to their owners, how come Mr. Asante was unable to provide the list? And I think that is where the query of the auditors come from.
Mr. Chairman, I think, one, we have a provision for restoring the vehicles to their original owners. Vehicles become state property when the original owners are unable to clear them within the stipulated time of 60 days. And so, if even we go further and have the Commercial Industrial Bulletin published, and the original owner surfaces and now says, I'm in a position to pay for the duties and taxes that originally I wasn't able to do, then they will give that original owner the benefits, so he becomes the first offer. He has the first offer. So those were some of the things that happened. So each time that the bulletin has been published, the auditors will just look at that at the first instance, but then if evidence is there that the original owners have applied for, approval has been given for restoration to be made, then you have to check from the system. So it was the system, that process of verifying whether indeed the original owners have been given or not, that brought about that. And that is what we have managed to do, and now the figure has whittled down from that huge
yes, I get that. So it's based on all that you have narrated. That has accounted for the figures that you just gave. As the last count
about
was 206. And then as of today, it's 97. Now, the auditors have advised that you strengthen oversight on the operations, especially of the auction unit. They also wanted you to provide them with the underlying records, including auctioneers' reports, internal audit reports, and the reserve price list. Have you been able to do that?
Part of the engagement that we have had with the auditors.
I asked a simple question. The auditors listed a number of issues. Have you been able to address them? Or you want me to list them?
Some or most of them, sir.
Internal audit report and reserve price list of the 16 CIBs from 2015 to 2017. So you've done some. You have done some. You are doing some. Which ones are still outstanding?
Mr. Chairman, I said we have not been able to, as at now, account for the 97. So the presumption is that in respect of those ones, we have not been able to provide all the relevant documentation as observed by the auditors. And so once we are able to, then it reduces. So it's a combination of the actions, the engagement that we're having with them, and the documentation that we are making available to them, including going into the system to verify for themselves what really has been approved or not.
Can I hear from the auditors what documentation you have received so far with regards to this infraction?
Mr. Chair, so far some of the documents made available to us are some of the gazettes, and then they have a list from their system which authenticates the auction made so far. So we are still going through the process with them. Thank you.
Chairman, for this infraction, that is the end of my questioning. I'll move on to the next one, except maybe there is a follow-up.
Thank you very much, Chairman, for the opportunity. On the recommendation oversight, Minister, do you consider the auctioning area as a high risk to the nation and to the ministry? That the way we auction comes almost every year, every quarter, whatever. Do you regard it as a high risk area?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, every system that has a lot of manual interventions are subject to some of these risks. So what we are doing, or we have done in the process, is to digitize some of these things. And we started not long ago with this auction process. And so I believe that it will reduce the infractions that are cited in these areas. But basically, any system or anything that you do that has a lot of manual interventions, yes, you would have some level of risk involved in it. That is why we have moved to digitizing the auction process.
Yeah, Minister, I do know that before external auditors come to engage and do audit of a government agency, they have a pre-meeting with the internal audit unit to see some of the issues that is open to fraud and all that. I don't know whether this particular finding, weakness or infraction, mostly external auditors, when the internal auditors do their work and make findings, they adopt it and use it. Is this one of the examples? Or the external auditors on their own did this work and made this a serious finding?
Mr. Chairman, like the Chief Director said, you know, the auditors have, they are very professional. They look into things that, possible areas where these things, fraud and other things can be found. So it's open, as and when they come in and they identify any other thing. But as I have also mentioned to you, we have moved on with the digitization of this process. And so because of that, I believe the infraction in this area will reduce drastically. Now that the auction process is done, it's gone digital. Thank you.
Our Charles.
Thank you, Chair. This goes to the auditor. I just want to understand, is it a practice where you mention people's name without anything in the reports? The reason I'm asking this, I see Mr. Kwesi Asante's name in it. That is all. Nothing again. I'm just, is it because you spoke to him, that's why his name is in the reports? Because I'm sure in your audit you do speak to a number of people, and this particular one, why is his name in there?
Thank you, Chair. In this particular instance, Mr. Asante's name appears because he was a scheduled officer and he offered explanations to the findings of the auditor. And so we needed to identify a specific person whom we could go back and follow on. Thank you.
But the title, he has a title. He's a scheduled officer, he has a title. The reason I'm asking this is it's because he has a title. And I don't understand why his name is mentioned in the report, as if he's done something, whereas
Another is not. Thank you,
another
Chair.
he's gone on retirement soon.
So that's the point I was coming to. He's retired now.
So that his title should be maybe, the second officer or something, his name did this. But to mention his name, and then you have not even directed us to what to do on him or his name. There's a lot of Kwesi Asantes. For instance, I'm Mr. Kwesi Asante. What will happen to me when they see me?
Thank you. Thank you.
Honorable Ranking.
Oh. Okay, Chairman, I want to be assured that these monies, I noticed that these infractions occurred from January 2015 up to January 2017. I want to know whether the amounts involved had been collected into the state coffers. And then I also want to know, after this period, whether there has been an improvement so that we will not see these kind of situations again. Thank you.
Honorable Chair, I will start from the process. I think, as Honorable Deputy Minister mentioned, we are automating the process and we are far advanced. In fact, we are expecting that before the end of this month, we will have finished the process. And with the automation that we are doing, we expect that this problem will significantly, in fact, if not completely eliminated. We recall that, for example, we've talked about, in fact, it will be in some of the things about these annual checks that we used to have a lot of times. But once you also automated the system, it completely vanished. We have talked about issues of reconciliation between banks. And that time we had just 2 banks. Yes, we had reconciliation problems. But today we have automated, we have 22 banks, and we don't have reconciliation problems. But when we had 2 and it was manual, we had reconciliation problems. In the same way, as we are automating this process, we are confident that it will remove, because the digitalization will help us to remove these problems, and that's where we are moving to. As far as the revenues are concerned, as they identify these transactions we talked about, it means that if for example, if the vehicle was reverted to the original owner, and the original owner had to take the vehicle, it means that he paid the duty, and therefore it will also be accounted for at the same time when we are doing the reconciliation. So all the duties that are being identified are also being supported. All the reconciliations that are being identified are supported with the duties that have been paid or the auction amount that was paid. Honorable Chairman, that's the answer.
Thank you.
Honorable.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, my name is Honorable Kojo Asante, but I'm not Kwesi Asante. Yes.
Is your uncle Kwesi Asante?
No, Chairman. No. Chairman, I realize that on the issue of the infractions regarding the auction, page 40 to 41, I see a table there. The table narrates the period. That is, if you look at it starts from 16 January 2015 through to 27 January 2017. Then the total infraction is 1,719. From 16 January to the end of 2015, if you do the calculation, you get 973. 973. But I realize that the table is silent on the 2016. There is no records on 2016. Doesn't mean that nothing happens in 2016. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That question is for the auditors. And this is what they are reported on. But auditors, no record on 2016. It means that no infraction. Is that what it means?
For 2016, our records, the records there were okay. We had the challenges in 2015 and 2017. That's why we reported on that.
Honorable members, the question is for Honorable Apak.
Yes. I've given you.
You guys have
bites,
hijacked it.
and I'm not done.
Honorable Apak, continue.
Very well. And it's not about cars. It's still about auctions. You still would have a chance.
Out there publicly. It's not January 29th. There are actually other dates. So it doesn't end with January 27th. We have 21st April 2017, 26th July 2017, 2nd September 2017, and 4th October 2017. And that accounted for huge numbers. So the attempt to indicate as if it was just 27th January 2017 is not the case.
No, nobody made that attempt.
So
nobody made that attempt.
No, so
nobody made that attempt.
I'm just trying to indicate.
Nobody made that attempt.
No, they said
because the member who asked the question
said from
was able
January,
to calculate 2015 to be 900 plus.
He said,
and then the 27, it means that when you subtract 900 from 1,700 plus, the difference is for 2017.
Says the range was 2015 to 27th January 2017.
There is arrangement. It's not proper.
So it goes beyond 27th January.
It's up to October 2017.
It's up to October 2017.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Okay, Apak.
Well stated. Well stated. So the table must be properly scrutinized for the sake of the records. Mr. Chairman, I continue from paragraph 79. And this is very important. I know many Ghanaians and special Ghanaians in the diaspora, not long ago I was there, would have a particular interest in this infraction. Delay in seizure of vehicles. Because this is of enormous public interest, can the Director General, GRA, tell us the conditions under which vehicles are seized?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairman. I will defer to my colleague, the Commissioner for Customs, to answer.
Very well, Commissioner for Customs.
Mr. Chairman, now we look at the word seize or seizure and confiscation to the state. So they come under various. If someone brings a vehicle into our jurisdiction, and it passes through the appropriate approved routes, either the seaport, airport, or land, and documentations are there. The person has 60 days within which he must pay for the duties and taxes on that. If he's unable to do that, then automatically he forfeits the asset to the state. Now, the seizure proper is where the person, some who manage to bring the vehicles, especially by land, they will be found to be using the vehicle. They might have come in either through unapproved route or might have come in under temporary importation and then have abused it. And while they are driving around, our officers make the inspection and realize that payment of duties, taxes have not been effected. That is where they will issue them with the a detention, the seizure, and eventually, if they give you the opportunity to come and prove that indeed you managed to pay the appropriate duties, it will be released. If not, then just like the other ones that come in and the owners are unable to pay within the stipulated time, it becomes property of the state. So it depends on the method that you use. But generally, those that come through the seaport in particular, within the stipulated time, if you're unable to, then it becomes state property. Now, if it becomes state property, if we have facilities, the state warehouse will take charge of them. But they can also continue to be at the terminals where the vehicles have been parked. So, and it's under customs control. So the customs control area is what really defines whether or not the particular asset is now state property. So the proper documentation between the shipping lines, the terminal operators, and customs will determine which vehicles have now become state property, and later the Gazette or the Commercial Industrial Bulletin will be published, and then the other processes will follow.
Very well, Mr. Chairman. Now, given what we have narrated, the auditors claim in paragraph 80 that contrary to the above, which is what you have narrated, they noted that 20 Hengtong buses, I think it should be Yutong, but anyway, it says Hengtong. Well, that is what it says in the report. I assume it's Yutong. Some tongues don't run on the road. In any case, they say 20 Yutong buses and 2 Ford pickup vehicles had been parked at the Temasek Bond Annex State Warehouse since 2016. They also noted that these vehicles had not been forfeited and gazetted for public auction. What accounted for this, and what have you done with regards to this issue?
Honorable Chairman, the last part, I think the report shows that we've dealt with it. The owners have paid duties fully, so no loss of revenue in that respect. But what could have accounted for that? We depend on the terminal operators, shipping lines, to provide information on these vehicles, which are in their custody. There are times that we have challenges getting the list from them. And if they are not forthcoming, and in some cases, because of also their interest, when the assets become state property, the ultimate beneficiaries don't pay for the as they would pay if they were to clear them themselves. If you clear within the stipulated time, then you will have to pay all the handling charges and all that, and which will go to the benefit of the terminal operators and the shipping lines. But if it becomes state property, they are just supposed to provide it and we'll take custody. So there are times that some of these terminal operators and shipping lines try, because of the loss of fees that they incur when they give it out to state. So they try to occasionally find a way of keeping so that eventually the owners will come and then they will get their fees in addition to the taxes and duties that customs will get. So, but we do our best as much as possible to ensure that they provide the list timeously and then we deal with the situations. But
clearly, you are narrating avenues through which the state is cheated, where we lose revenue. And what sanctions are you meting out to those who facilitate the fleecing of state resources? Because this cannot be right.
Mr. Chairman, we don't really lose revenue. It's just that it is suspended. If there's no way you can clear that vehicle if you don't have customs permission, and you will only have it when you do the declaration and pay within the stipulated time, or when it becomes state property and then it goes through the processes of auction. So if it is not given to us in time, it only means that the possible duties and taxes have been deferred until such time that they come into our custody or we come fully aware, and then so it is not a case that anyone will be able to clear that particular asset. It may only be suspended, and any time that it becomes property and to follow the right procedure, we'll get the revenue. If the original owner also comes and it's restored to him, he will still also have to pay the duties and taxes.
So, with regards to this particular issue, you have given indication that it has been resolved. Am I right?
Yes, please.
So, was it the original owners who came back for them, or they became state property and were auctioned?
Mr. Chairman, the fact that we have the CIB number here indicates that they became state property. The commercial bulletin was published and then it was given out on auction.
Now, Mr. Commissioner, the interest of the agent, the handlers, also not willing to release this information because they'll be losing revenue. What will your office do to ensure that they also don't lose revenue, so that the interest of they protecting them or keeping the information away from you will stop?
Mr. Chairman, we've had a series of engagements with them. The issue has to do with they want full recovery. And then we all know that when the thing is going on auction, it becomes state property. So we've agreed on certain minimum amounts in respect of certain types of assets. And so it's not like, it's a win-win, they will get some, and then the ultimate beneficiary of the auction may also not be paying as much as, but with money to come to some reasonable arrangements with them.
Now, has that resolved the issue?
Not fully, but to a very large extent, it appears to be working.
Chairman, the recommendation partly states that the sector commander should ensure that the vehicles are recorded in the state warehouse registry. I think that has been done. It is the last sentence, the last paragraph that I want to emphasize on. It says, we further recommend to the management to investigate the anomaly and sanction officers found culpable. That tells me that, as far as the auditors are concerned, something fishy, something strange, something unacceptable occurred, and auditors ought to be recommending officers are sanctioned. What sanctions have you taken with regards to the officers who superintended over this matter?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. And as he explained, when we look at the process itself internally, we did not see the issues of the compromise or any compromise position as far as our staff is concerned. But then, as he mentioned, with the terminal operators. So actually, we are still brainstorming as to how best to handle the terminal operators. Because even though the revenue is not forfeited, it's delayed. And we also know the time value for money. And then in addition, it also then don't create a position where people also take advantage, because all of us know that it's supposed to be 60 days and it should move. So if it's 60 days, it should move. And therefore, that the terminal operators do not directly operate under GNRA, but there must be a way of being able to compel them. So it's something that we are discussing internally, and we commit to the House that we will find a way of ensuring that the process is followed. Because if we continue to allow such things without any, what will I put it, sanctions whatsoever, then it will be perpetuated and it will create problems for us. So it's something that we are looking at, and we'll try and find a solution to ensure that the people in the chain, from the end to the end, obey what the regulations say, and then the things are, the vehicles flow when they need to flow, and not kept because, and then it includes the suggestion that you did or you made also about whether they can be compensated somehow. And so therefore, if we discuss this whole chain, we can come out with a solution. Honorable Chair, presented.
Thank you. I also clarification here. You seem to be saying that the officers didn't commit any offense. Are you suggesting that the officers at the bonded warehouses have no way of knowing that these vehicles have stayed over 60 days so that they will report to your office or something like that? Because maybe that's where the auditors are coming from.
Honorable Chair, previously it was difficult, but not today. Today, if they go into the system, because once the goods come and you do your declarations, the system will be able to track the number of days. So once you get to the auction and you don't see the goods, you'll be able to see that these goods have not been moved, and then you'll be able to go after. So the process is for us to be able to ensure that when they see it, they have a kind of sanction for the operators. So to answer your question, previously, no. Today, they'll be able to see.
Sanction for the officers, not the terminal operators. Don't you have officers at the bonded warehouses?
In this particular case, They were not found culpable. But when we look at the process, as I mentioned, we look at the process end to end. Let me just clarify that. If you look at the process end to end, whoever is found culpable within the process will have to be sanctioned. I agree with you 100% on that. Whether it is the terminal operator, if the terminal operator is also conniving with the officer, they must also be found be sanctioned.
Can you help us here? We are talking about your recommendation that the officers should be sanctioned. They're saying that it doesn't appear there was any complicity by the officer. Can you tell us what it is about that you made that recommendation?
Thank you very much, Chair. With your permission, I'd like to take us to paragraph 81 of the report. And it is clear that our further checks reveal that the vehicles were neither recorded in the State Warehouse Register nor the uncleared cargo list, UCL, submitted by the sale bond terminal manager. And hence, we relied on this particular finding to make the recommendation. Thank you.
And Honorable Chair, if I can come in here, and this is the situation that I'm saying, the current situation, the current ICAMS, it cannot exist where you will not find it in any of the two situations. But previously, it could have.
Mr. Commissioner General, the recommendation is that you conduct an investigation. And if you found culpable, you punish the person. Have you conducted an investigation into this matter?
Mr. Chairman, I think probably you may give me the permission to do a little clarification on this. We have the uncleared cargo list. Then we have the State Warehouse Register. It is when the item has not been cleared within the stipulated time, then it becomes uncleared, and therefore we expect the terminal operators, the shipping, to provide that list for us to know what they have in their custody. And then if eventually it comes to the State Warehouse, that's where we prepare the State Warehouse Register. But some of these terminal operators are allowed to keep the assets, and that area will be deemed to be constructive warehouse of customs, because we don't have to store all these vehicles assets in our state warehouse. So if they are there, certainly you won't have the items in the State Warehouse Register. It is those that come to customs custody directly, where we have our control, and at the State Warehouse Facility. That's where you find the assets listed there. But if they are still under uncleared cargo list and they have not been brought, then we expect that they will prepare the list, which list will show which assets are found in which terminals or which areas. So, and it is at that stage, an officer has not committed an offense. It is when the vehicle is uncustomed, i.e., if it were to pass by land and it got into our jurisdiction, and the person who brought it has not paid the appropriate duties and taxes. That's why an offense has been committed by way of default in payment of taxes and duties. And so the uncustomed aspect is different from the person for financial difficulties, unable to clear the asset within the stipulated time. He hasn't committed an offense, except that he doesn't have the resources to clear assets that he has imported into jurisdiction, which he wanted to take delivery of. So no real offense has been committed. I have imported something. So I don't have money. I have not cleared it.
Mr. Commissioner, to you, there is no need for any investigation to the matter.
I have not said that, Mr. Chairman. I have only said that.
You have not said that, but it's a question I'm posing to you. Because you said no wrong has been committed. So to you, there's no need for any investigation, isn't it?
Mr. Chairman, I was trying to distinguish between the uncleared cargo list preparation and then...
Don't be afraid to say yes. I know that is your position. Don't just be afraid to say it. The committee will not do anything to you. To you, you had the money. You know what really happened there. You have explained yourself. So there's no need for investigation. Yes, we think that there's no need for investigation. That's all.
Because we still are engaged in trying to reconcile, to be very sure about which items, so that's...
Then do you think that there is a need for investigation?
So in respect of the two tracks, I don't think there's any need for further investigation.
That's all.
I thought it was a general because I wasn't around. But if it is in respect of the 2 tracks, no.
Tufero, I won't give you the chance. I know if I give you that, you'll be firing. I won't give you the chance. Okay, talk. You are talking already.
Actually, I'm surprised because after every audit, gone through the report, and I saw that they shouldn't have even be allowed to write what they have written because they actually don't issue. So
you are not here, so you are a member of parliament. So, all right. So, auditors. Oh, still on this issue. Okay.
Commissioner, thank you. In your response to the committee, you indicated that, well, according to Mr. Kwesi Asante, he gave the impression that where the vehicles are under seizure and are to be auctioned, that's values have been determined and they are placed on the auction list. The true owners themselves are given the opportunity to also participate in the auction. And in that case, they pay for, I had the Commissioner General say that they pay for the duty. Do you still consider it as an auction vehicle in that case?
If the original owner comes, we do restoration. So it is deemed to be that you were clearing within the stipulated time. So it no longer becomes an auction. It is real payment for duties and taxes. And there's a linkage between that price, original duty that you would have paid, and what would be considered as the auction, which is the reserve price.
But the report appears to have lumped all that together. So it's a bit misleading. So next time, auditors, if you can get this clarification. And no, it's important. Because you see, the revenue accrual is different. If they can disaggregate it like that, then the revenues accrued is different. But if it's lumped that together, the auction vehicles are auctioned based on what we call the valuation reports. They are valued. Is that not the case?
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
A value will be given to the asset.
But when some vehicles are restored to the original owners, like you said, it's as though you were clearing within the time limit for clearing. So the value would have been as determined by customs.
Yes, please. As much as possible, the duty that the original owner would have paid is the one that forms the basis of the preparation of the reserve price.
That is my next question. You have answered it. Because government doesn't want to lose revenue. So that forms the basis of the reserve price. Do you sometimes sell above that or below that?
As much as possible, ideally the state of the asset at the time of disposal determines the value. But with customs, at least the minimum price or value is the one that is the reserve price, the one that the original owner would have paid. So we make sure that as much as possible, we get that one. But it depends on the state of the asset. There are instances where it takes a long time before the compilation of the CIB and all that. And so by the time the real auction is taking place, the asset might have seen some deterioration or something. So if evidence is produced and the beneficiary makes an appeal and some form of determination is made, it could be sold at a lower price than the reserve price, just to make sure that revenue is preserved, and otherwise it will stay and then will eventually not get value for it. And so occasionally it does happen.
And you think that window is not being abused?
It has to real justification, because we know that the auditors will come. So that's one of the reasons. They want to know the basis, the reserve price. How did you determine? And straight away, so you go to the valuation that was done. So if you are going to reduce it, then there must be real evidence, which in most cases, pictorial and whatever, and then some form of depreciation or something will be done. So it's not done arbitrarily as such.
Have you reversed to the benchmark revenue discounts after the letter you issue out?
No, please.
Honorable Minister, can you respond to that question?
Mr. Chairman, please, the question again.
The question is that the discount, the benchmark revenue, the discount which you have removed, you've gone back again, giving discounts on the benchmark revenue.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, we said we were going into a stakeholder consultation with all the parties. So once we are done with that, government will go ahead with some modifications on the benchmark values.
So what is the current situation now?
As I speak to you today, we have another engagement with one of the very important stakeholders. And so after...
I mean, what system are you applying now? Are you giving out the discount now or...
Mr. Chairman, we would want to finish the discussions with the stakeholders. We have one at 3 p.m. today. So once we are done, we will...
If somebody is paying for an import today, and that item fall under the benchmark revenue list, what rate will the person pay?
Mr. Chairman, currently as we speak, we haven't touched it. But after the consultation, government will come out with a position. So, like I said, we're meeting one of the very important stakeholders today. And, but as we speak now, it is same. We haven't touched it.
That is what I want to know. Okay, thank you. Let's move to the next one, paragraph 83 to 87. The Vice Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Now, Ghana Revenue Authority, Elubu Division, unpaid rent for 5 years, Comet duty-free shop. Why did it have to take this long?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. We do concede that they should have taken this long for us to identify this issue. There was negotiations ongoing for this rent, and the negotiations had not concluded, and it was in the stalemate. And unfortunately, it seems to have been skipped. And then, so kind of what we have done is that we have a database that keeps records of all the properties that are either we are renting or rented out. And then we keep track of the dates and times for renewal so that such a thing does not happen. But however, this particular one had been resolved, and then the rent has been collected up to the end of 2022 December. But I agree with you, Honorable Chair, that if we had what we have done today, it shouldn't have happened, because there are a number of properties that we are renting, a number of places that we are also renting out, and there's a need for us to ensure that we keep track and follow up on each one, and then we are prompted when it expires.
Mr. Director General, was anybody punished for that?
Honorable Chair, not that I know of. I'll have to double check and I'll come back.
Mr. Director General, my impression right now, listening to some of you civil servants, it looks like as a politician, if you make mistakes, your people will vote you out. But as a civil servant, they just transfer you. And if you're not lucky, you go to Elibu. You go to Enchi. Elibu is here. You go to Enchi. I'm sorry. But it looks like instead of us making sure that we follow the rules, we sanction those we need to sanction, we just come here with excuses. And it's unfortunate. Civil servants help us. They always put the blames on us politicians. But it's the civil servants who are not helping us. Somebody has to pay a rent. For 5 years, we allow this thing to go on. Somebody has to make sure vehicles are, make sure that the vehicles are listed in the logbook. We come up with excuses. We are supposed to give information to auditors. Before the auditors come to you, they write to you. Give the information to the auditors. And then we come up with all kinds of excuses. I would wish we would conduct an investigation to find out how many civil servants have been fired for poor job performance. I doubt we'll find anybody.
Whose phone is that? Honorable Gifty.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I wish to ask the auditors, why is this now surfacing in 2018? Because the issue has been outstanding since 2013 till 2017. May I find out whether it kept coming, but then the officers were not taking any action, so it's existed all these years, or suddenly it surfaced in 2018. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chair. This particular finding is coming from Elubu, and we do not visit there as frequently as we should, and hence the anomaly. But then the team that went did the audit to cover a certain period, and subsequently it had to be included in the report. Thank you.
Let's move to the next one. Paragraph 88 to 92. Honorable Waka.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The infraction is penalty on late transfer of tax revenue not effected. Close to 2.7 billion. According to Auditor General, you are supposed to, the commercial banks are supposed to collect taxes on your behalf and then make payments within 72 hours, after which penalties are charged. In this case, the commercial banks kept the monies beyond 72 hours, resulting in of about 2.7 billion. But these were not collected, resulting in this colossal money was not collected, resulting in loss of this revenue. What accounted for that? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. In this particular instance, there was a cash management arrangement where the banks were advised to hold on with the transfer, and that's what actually happened in this particular case. So this particular case was not one that happened as a result of an intentional delay or unintentional delay on the part of the bank, but based upon specific instructions that was issued. And we have made available to the auditors the instruction. But generally, this issue of the delays by banks in the transfer of the funds have also been resolved completely with the introduction of two things: the cashless, where we don't collect cash anymore and the money goes to the bank, and then two, the Ghana.gov platform. So today what happens is that the taxpayers all go straight to the bank and they pay to the Ghana.gov platform. And once the bank receives it, it automatically sweeps in 48 hours, no longer for 72 hours, 48 hours automatically to the central bank. And that's one of the things I mentioned earlier on, Mr. Honorable Chair, that even though those times we had 2 banks and we are having the challenges, today we have 22 banks and none of these challenges is occurring. And we want to assure the House that we will continue to look at this things that doesn't occur. But this particular one was done in response to a specific instructions, Honorable Chair.
Did you provide any proof to the auditors that you had given special instructions that this time they could keep the money beyond the stipulated 72 hours?
Honorable Chair, the copy of the instructions are available and we are yet to be given to them, but it's available.
You say you are yet to give that instruction to the auditors. Is that what I heard you? Then it means that the law was breached.
No, what I'm saying is that a copy.
Please use the mic.
But the infraction occurred, and that the banks were supposed to have paid this colossal amount of money.
No, what I meant was that at the time, they did it in response to an instruction that for some cash management activity that was taking place, they were supposed to hold on and not to transfer. So this particular instance, it was a response to an instruction at the time.
And why did the auditors...
And it's a copy of the instructions that we have made available to the auditors for them to know that the bank did not act on their own accord.
At the time of the auditing, that's what I'm talking about. At the time of the auditing, why didn't you provide this information to the auditors? And that they finished their auditing before you made this letter available. It means something went on. I'm waiting for the answer.
Honorable Chair, I think at the time the document was not made available to them, but subsequently it has been made available.
But the amount of money involved is huge, colossal. I think if we are able to do these simple things, it will save us from these obnoxious taxes that sometimes we impose on the people. So I think that it's no excuse at all, because it's 2.7 billion.
No.
Million. 2.7 million, yes, but, sorry. Yes, all cities, yeah. But let's say we are in the, 2.7 million, which is still colossal. It's still colossal. So I'm wondering why you allow these monies to go, and then the citizens are asked to pay these obnoxious taxes.
Auditors, have they provided the document that provide evidence that they were asked to keep the money for that period? Have they provided it to you?
Honorable Chair, yes, they have.
And where is the document from? Who issued that directive?
It was from the ministry, sir.
Ministry of Finance, right?
Yes, please.
Okay. Can you make a copy available to us? Please make a copy available to me. Let me see what is there.
Chairman, my point is why should we always offend and later we go back to correct? If it is so, I think we shall all be doing the wrong thing, so that if I'm caught, I go back and prepare something to clear the situation. I think, is that right? That's my problem. Auditors, I want to know whether that is right. That after losing this, now I wouldn't use this colossal again. After losing this amount of money, it's not like maybe 100 cities or 200 cities. Then you raise some issue, and we go back and prepare the letter and give it to you. That we wrote to the banks to keep our money. Because to keep such amount of money for that period is not acceptable at all. Because if you go to the bank for 15 days, you must know how much you are going to pay. So if we allow this and then come back and we clarify, I don't understand. So can you please clarify whether we are allowed to do that? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member, for your question. Honorable Chair, thank you for the question. But as you can see, all these transactions are measured against the standards, which are the acts and the Constitution and whatever governs the ministry. So as at the time of the audit, if these things are not made available, these are the infractions. But aside that, we want corrective actions to be also carried out by the ministries, agencies, and departments. This audit was conducted was reported in 2018. And as at now, if they haven't done anything concerning some of these infractions, then we have a case to stand on. But if the right thing has been done, then we can agree and move forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Well, Mr. Doku, your outfit confirmed that the information was not provided at the time of the audit. That is why you reported on it in your report. Now it has been provided. I ask if that satisfies the concerns or requirement of the audit. You say yes. Now, the law has been breached. At the time given to provide the information was not given. As an auditor who is auditing, you have the powers under Article 1877B to surcharge. Have you surcharged the officers involved?
Thank you, Chair. This is a report of the Auditor General, and there are several processes that we go through. When we report such issues and it is searchable, it becomes the Auditor General's, it gets into the Auditor General's domain, and he has a disallowance and surcharge committee at head office. What I cannot say for a fact is whether this issue has been referred to the disallowance and surcharge committee for action.
You are here as an Auditor General. Don't forget you are representing the Auditor General. So don't speak as if he must come to respond to this issue. You are here to respond to issues you are giving to us to represent him. So you must speak for him. Don't refer issues to him. That is why you are here, as a liaison.
Thank you, Chair. I would follow up and provide feedback.
I asked to have a look at the document, but I've still not been given. Do we have a copy here? Please, I want to see it. Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, please, I want to clarify a few issues before we move on here. One, per the auditor's infraction, that they held on to monies within 24 hours, 72 hours of receipt of the revenue. GRA's response was this, that controller was, as part of its cash management, wrote, it is not Ministry of Finance that wrote, it's Controller and Accountant General, wrote that it should be put in a certain account. So as far as the banks are concerned, they followed directives from the Controller and Accountant General. So that is why when we reconciled, we said that there was no infraction because the banks were only responding to a directive from the Controller and Accountant General. So respectfully, the letter did not come from Ministry of Finance, but the letter came from Controller and Accountant General. And like the Commissioner General mentioned, that now with Ghana.gov, the monies hit the accounts in real time, so you see everything. But with this particular infraction, it was a directive as part of the cash management issues at that time for them to deposit the money into a certain account. And I think...
And that's also government account?
Yes. But
account
on the
number,
part of GRA...
Account number what?
We can furnish you with the accounts.
Have you cited that letter from Controller yourself?
Mr. Chairman, we will make that available to you.
No, it's a question. Have you cited it yourself?
Not myself, I haven't cited, but we'll make that available to you.
Is a copy of that letter here in this room?
Mr. Chairman, we will make that available to you. I can't confirm.
Please
if
answer
it's
my
here.
question first. Is a copy here in this room?
I cannot confirm that, Mr. Chairman, that we have a copy on us here.
Auditors.
But I know when we were preparing for this place, that was what was mentioned.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Auditors, Madam, I asked you a question earlier. You told me that you have been given a copy of the letter. Can you produce your copy?
Honorable Chair, we'll make it available before the close of day.
Mr. Chairman, but I must admit that GRA should have responded within the exit management conference period. So as for that one, the auditors have a point to put this in there. But if they had responded within that exit management period, this infraction may not have appeared here. So for that, GRA would have to take the responsibility for that. But moving forward, it is clear that they did not do that on their own accord, and that instructions were given to them to hold on to the monies in another government account as part of our cash management procedures and issues. And so, Mr. Chairman, that is...
was that money spent from that government account directly, or it's later hit the consolidated fund?
Mr. Chairman, it was later transferred into the consolidated account.
So if I ask for evidence of the transfer to the right.
Mr. Chairman, a Controller and Accountant General can provide evidence of transfers that have hit
Okay, so what I want now, I need that letter from Controller, then I need the bank statement that can confirm the transfer of that money to the consolidated fund. Thank you very much. Let's move to the next one. That will be done by Honorable Dakwa, paragraph 93 to 96.
Thank you, Chairman. So you've been cited under disbursements from GRA, General Refund Account, to a tune of 312,235,683 Ghana cedis. So would you agree with this statement in the Auditor General's reports that GRA maintains the General Refund Account for the purpose of refunding overpayment of tax, payment made by non-taxable persons, and payment made on non-taxable supply? You agree with that?
Yes, Honorable Chair. Okay.
So if you agree with that, how come, I'm referring to the table, in February 2017, 200 million was transferred from the account. Under special project, 110 million Ghana cedis was also transferred under miscellaneous, and then 2 million plus was also transferred under miscellaneous. Okay, so my question will be two-part. Further to that, I see that management responded saying that the monies will be refunded. Okay, so my first question is, why was these amounts of monies transferred from the accounts when you clearly agree that it should be transferred for certain specific purposes which we outlined before? And also, why wasn't the amount refunded as at end of year, which was 31st December 2018, which management responded that it would be refunded by that period? I think thirdly, let me just give the last question. Can you confirm as at now This was 31st December 2018. Now we're in February 2022. Can you just confirm whether now the outstanding amounts have been all refunded? Thank you. The second part of the question, I asked why by 18th December the outstanding amounts were not refunded and whether that has been done now.
Honorable, if I may help with the way the general refund account works. The general refund account is an account that receives a certain portion of the revenues for refunds, as has been explained. The law provides that at the end of the year, the balances on the refund account and other government accounts should be transferred to the Treasury main account. So at the end of the year, whatever remains on the account effectively resets to zero, and then the account starts again based on revenues that are collected in the following year. I must admit that this process has not been observed consistently, and this is something that we have corrected subsequently. And that is why you will not see a one-to-one lodgement and refund from the account as you would expect. Thank you.
Okay, so you just admitted that there's a problem there. There was. So as it stands now, these problems have been rectified. All right, thank you. Auditors, are you satisfied with the
Honorable Chair, yes, we
are satisfied with all their responses?
Just.
Thank you very much, Chair. It's just to the Chief Director of Finance. So at the end of the year, it has to go to the the Treasury, the main Treasury account. But you could see from this table that it was February, September, and December. So at the end of the year, the money would have gone. So within that year, if there is refund, where would you pick the money from? If there was a refund, where would you have picked the money from?
Yes, thank you very much, Honorable. That's the reason why the refunds have not been done consistently. So instead of we sweeping exactly 31st December, we normally don't do it 31st December. So you wait till later in the year, and then you make how much was there at the end of the year, and then you take it back to the Treasury main. And then you also have to be mindful of what, likely refunds may accrue. So it is something that you manage carefully, as part of the Treasury single account process to ensure that you always have money to do a refund. In the exceptional case where there is a refund that needs to be done and GRA advised that there's no money, we take money from the Treasury main account and make it available in the account to make the refund.
My understanding is that as we sit now, we do not have some outstanding refunds from that particular period.
I'm not aware, maybe Commissioner General can talk whether there's an
on that particular period.
No problem with any refunds that have not been settled.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Your response shows that out of a balance of 312 million, that was disbursed from the refund account, 110 million was transferred to the consolidated fund. I'm reading what is here. Okay, so it means there is a balance of 202 million. And your response here says that the difference represents payment made in respect of various revenue mobilization activities to ensure effective and efficient revenue administration. Can you give us some of those or those activities?
Honorable Chairman, there were a number of activities with a major revenue mobilization activity, including a campaign that was being looked at a particular time, and also some retooling activities that were also looked at. But the details will be made available to you as we subsequently.
Why didn't you make those details available to auditors at the time of the audit?
We'll make it available. Honorable Chair.
Okay, we are giving you, apart from giving it to the auditors, give the committee also a copy of those details. That will enable us to write our report. And give us within 1 week. By next week, Monday, we should have, so clerk, take notes, we should have the details of the expenditure on revenue mobilization to cover the difference.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you. Let's move to the next one. It will be done by Honorable Roxon, paragraph 97 to 101.
Chairman, thank you. Now, Commissioner, the auditors pursuant to Section 41 of the Income Tax Act 2015, Act 896, particularly as captured in the 7th schedule, have raised certain issues regarding some outstanding tax payments due the state. Now, they have given an elaborate table concerning even some of your offices that where these infractions have been determined. So I see that a lot of your small tax offices have been cited. That's in table. If you look at page 51 of the report, and also your medium tax tax office have also been cited. There are a lot of them, so I don't want to bore you with their names. Then your large tax offices across the Accra and some places in the central region. Now, my first question is in respect of Osu, because I observed from the report that even though the auditors said they have looked at 101 taxpayers or files with outstanding taxes, they have indicated that there's no amount of money outstanding at all. So the auditors, I may have to direct this at you. If we go to item 5 in the table, Osu MTO office, number of files selected for review 249. Then you are saying that out of that, number of files you detected with outstanding taxes was 111, and yet you didn't dictate any amount outstanding. So my question is, how were they declared as files with outstanding taxes? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I would like to take permission to go back and reconcile this figure and come back. Thank you.
Chairman, we'll take note of that. Okay. Then, Chairman, Dr. Kisi is reserving your powers. Okay. Now, if we may make progress, Commissioner General, yes, in your responses, I'll go to your response, page 11, and the item in the consideration. If you look at the fourth column where you did the calculations, the disaggregation of the figures, and the euro component, you have indicated that out of 567,338.55 cents, you have recovered some. Sorry? Okay, has been fully recovered. So my question is, when dates as to the recovery? Okay. Then, no, I'm asking this because this is, I think, before you took office. This happened before you took office. So I'm very happy that you are reporting that you've done the recovery. But it's important the committee knows when you did it.
Honorable Chair, we'll make it available. Basically, we continue to follow up consistently. Okay. And so sometimes you can collect it all at a go, but sometimes you can collect it maybe in 2 installments and things like that. So we'll check and give you the exact days that it was collected. Okay. But definitely it was after the audit.
Okay. Yet, this obviously is after the audit because you are responding to the audit issues. Then again, I also see that when it comes to the USD component, you have indicated how much you have recovered and how much appears to be under have been contested.
Yes.
Yeah, because you are saying that objection determined. The objection must have been raised, and yes, in determining the basis of the objection, about 8.7 million of that. So if you can further inform the committee what you mean by objection determined, does it mean that when the objection was raised and you went into it, you found a basis for the objection and therefore revise the figure that you think the entities owed?
Honorable Chair, I will let the head of the domestic tax division just throw some more light on that.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. And let me try to explain how assessments are objected to. When an assessment is raised, the taxpayer.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
Okay,
so
I understand that.
You object.
Yes.
And once you object and there is a review, the review may result in your favor or. So when you say objection determined, what it means is that this is a ruling that has been made in favor of the taxpayer.
Okay, in favor of the taxpayer.
The taxpayer.
Okay, then in my humble view, we shouldn't therefore be saying that we recovered 7.6. It means that out of the initially assessed 16 point something that they owed, when they raised objection and you found in their favor, that kind of amount of money is no longer outstanding.
That's correct.
So what you actually recovered should have been what would have been outstanding from the beginning. Because here I see that you are treating it the way it's stated. It's as if the 8 point something is still due us. So the narrative should have been that out of the 16 point something, they contested some aspect of it. And in determining the petition, 7 point something was found to have been lawfully due the state, and that has been recovered. And that has been recovered.
Well noted,
okay.
Chairman.
Then, Commissioner General, if we go to the CD component, that's quite huge, in excess of 2.6 billion.
Podium. You know, the minister's press briefings are squarely in her domain, but she's given me permission to take over her podium this afternoon. On Ghana's foreign policy, a number of developments in the foreign service, including efforts at ensuring that Ghana's image on the global stage is enhanced. With us this afternoon are a number of dignitaries. Honorable Deputy Minister, please do come this way. Do come this way. With us this afternoon are a number of dignitaries that I want to introduce to you, and then we can get our conversation underway. The directors from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs who are here, please rise and let's acknowledge you at the Ministry of Information. Thank you very much for the good work that you do on behalf of the Republic. We are grateful. Thank you for being with us. We have a special advisor to the Minister, Ambassador Kwabena Osei Dankwa. Ambassador, where are you? There you are. It's good to have you. The Acting Chief Director, Ambassador Ramses Cleland. There you are. Minister, I've not told you that Ambassador Cleland is my old classmate. Yes, yes. So we have a few things we've been conspiring